DORK Podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK Podcast with Davey. It's the DORK Podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Rick Rude Von Dick Dude. He is R. Vecna D. He is Robin Von Dobbin. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
Well, Richard, I come to you tonight bearing stories.
Stories?
So, as you know, I've just come back from my turn on the West Coast.
Yes.
Some would say the best coast. I would disagree. Did you know that the city of San Francisco has a poop map because the entire city smells like poop?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the incredible amount of homeless.
It does. So if you look, there is a San Francisco poop map. But not only did I come back with that story, now this might surprise you because I always on this program look like the picture of health and excellence. But I am currently dealing with the coronavirus. I've dealt with it. I've missed it for 2.5 years. And I finally have contracted COVID-19.
You have COVID-19?
I do.
Ryan, the year's 2022, so you got to kind of...
I got to catch up. I know. That's how long it's been waiting on me.
Fuck. So you were stricken with it? Would you get it out there?
I got it out there, and one of the major symptoms of this is that you're tired all the time. I'm also jet lagged, so I can't sleep, but I'm incredibly tired. So it's like a double whammy. So that if I stutter or I don't see myself tonight, I'm just going to say that right away.
If you nod off,
we're going to put an asterisk next to this. Whatever my stone rating for this is an asterisk.
Could be right.
Did you get it?
Could be called into question. I've never tested positive. I never have. Yeah.
It felt like a bad head cold for like 3 days.
Okay.
And now I'm just tired and I can't smell or taste. That's it.
Oh, you lost the smell and the taste. Mm-hmm. So even the best of the ginger ale, you wouldn't be able to.
Right now, I'm having a nice Cutwater tequila margarita. Can't taste it.
You could be drinking gasoline.
Didn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, motherfucker. No. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Ryan. I hope you get well soon.
Look at me.
Did your wife get it or your kids?
So my wife did. Kids not yet. So I know. So here we go.
Son of a bitch. Well, on that note, let's get to this.
This week in DORK.
Well, it's a busy dork summer, obviously, and including the topic du jour and the television show we're going to get to next week, The Boys. We just saw the penultimate episode. Are you all caught up on The Boys?
No, I'm this episode behind. I did watch Hero Gasm. We talked about that last week. That was something to behold.
It was
again
a treat.
Plenty of butthole, but not as much butthole as I thought.
Nah, never enough, probably.
Yeah.
And that episode, I thought it was a great episode. And surprisingly, it wasn't the Hero Gasm, which was like the best part. It was actually the fight scene that happened later on.
Right.
This last episode was another good one, kind of setting you up for the finale. So I'm all aboard. The Boys. Thor Love and Thunder also comes out this week. Have you procured your tickets, or do you have a theater near you that you usually can get into these kind of shows?
We have a theater we can go to, and it's usually not a lot of people are traveling to the Metro West these days. So the little theater, and we figured out, my wife and I did some quick math, and it's actually cheaper to take our daughters to the movies than to leave them with a babysitter at this point. So
now, are they prepared? Have they seen all of the MCU movies?
I don't think it matters. They've seen enough where it's just like, oh, cool, like that's fun. You know what I mean?
You're not going to take them through 1 through 27 or whatever and be like, all right.
We got about a 12-minute car ride, so that's about all I need to.
You could fill them in.
Yeah.
So Thor and Thor 2 weren't funny. Thor 3 very funny. Thor 4 is going to be like that as well.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the fourth film in a film series, Ryan, let me introduce you to the Kevin Smith Clerks 4. Or no, I'm sorry. Clerks 3. I gave him an extra one. Clerks
gave him an extra one.
They're rounding out the trilogy. Clerks 3. Kevin Smith is teasing the trailer, which comes out this week. Make sure to follow at Dork Podcast on Twitter. I'm sure we'll have that the second it is released. But what's your thoughts on Clerks 3?
How do you spend the last 25 years of your life without an original idea?
Come on. You didn't see that one with the guy that turned into the walrus? What was that one?
Okay, how do you go this far without a singular good original idea?
Yeah, the ideas haven't been great.
Like, what the fuck? Like, historically, I
Yeah.
am not. I love Mallrats. I will
love it.
give him Mallrats. I will
Thank you.
give him that.
Thank you.
Dogma, I thought was pretty good.
Okay.
I got to tell you, man, I don't get it. I
Here
don't
we
get.
go. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get what you people with the clerks.
Tusk.
I don't get it.
Yeah, you know what? Even me, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I did not love Clerks. I really didn't.
Let me ask you, why?
Well, I guess I would respond with the only thing that seems to be getting greenlit in Hollywood today is a comic book movie, or I guess a cheap horror movie, or a requel.
Right.
So I guess that's
So
why we're here.
he did this with Jay and Silent Bob, and that was fucking atrocious.
No, how? What? You didn't like Jay and Silent Bob?
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the sequel.
No.
No,
Oh,
not Jay and Silent Bob. What's the next one?
oh, reboot.
Reboot. Did you see
Oh,
that?
yeah, no, that wasn't good.
Holy shit!
I thought you were talking about Strike Back. I'm like, Strike Back's hilarious.
They had its moments, but
Will Ferrell and Jon Stewart. That's good. That's a good movie. I stand by that movie.
George Carlin was pretty funny in that too.
Yeah, Carlin.
Yep.
All right, let's go for writing and directing Kevin Smith movies. Let's just do the Roddy T score. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
Clerks.
Down.
See, I would at least go up. If it's binary, right?
Okay, so at the time, like, was it 95, 96 when that came out? 94? At the time, like 90s, like it's a time capsule of like the 90s, but it has not aged well at all. Like,
that's
at
fair.
all. So
That's
I
fair.
would give, I'll give that a middle, because now it was good and then it's bad. It's bad now.
I don't love it, but on the binary scale, I go up. Mallrats both of it up. Chasing Amy.
Down.
I go up. Dogma.
Up.
Up. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Up.
Up.
Jersey Girl. Down.
Down.
Clerks 2.
Down.
Down. Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Up.
I think I would go up as well.
Yep.
Let's see. He didn't write Cop Out, so I'm not going to count that. You know what? Red State. I'm going up.
Never saw it.
It's not a comedy. It's a
horror
fucking
movie. Right?
It's like cult movie. Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's great. Tusk. Big down.
Down.
Yoga Hosers.
Way
awful.
down.
Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Down.
Way down.
And then he's got Clerks 3, and then he's got Kilroy Was Here. Is going to be a horror anthology film, a comedy horror anthology film.
No thanks.
All right, anyway, we spent enough time on Kevin Smith. Dune 2 has been pushed to November 17th, 2023.
Just get it right.
Yeah, I mean,
Dune 2 Villeneuve. Just get it right, man. That's all I care about.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, email of the episode.
Hey.
Email of the episode. This one comes in from shit. Did I not write the name down? What an asshole. Oh, Jared. Here we go. From Jared. You got to go to Jared.
Gotta go
He
to
says,
no, you don't.
hey, Rich, I have a baseball question for you and Davey. I apologize for mixing WEEI and Dork, but I have to brag. The Bogarts and Devers card. This was part of. Remember the shit I bought this?
Yeah, and he paid like $250 or $200 for it or something.
Yes. He goes, the Bogarts Devers card that you guys said was, quote, too much to pay for on should I have bought this, sold for $500 to an even bigger dumbass, so a $200 profit.
So he bought it for $300.
He bought it for $3, sold it for $5.
All right, so have that guy come on and we'll tell him he made a mistake too.
Yeah, I think you're also an idiot. He goes, anyway, I know you like the idea of robot umpires. I personally do. Do you think taking the emotion out of getting mad at the umpires out of the game is a good thing? I think some people love those borderline calls, unless it's against their team. It's a dynamic that might be missed and keeps the games from totally being robotic. Just enjoying some Coronas, watching the Sox, thinking about it. Love the podcast. It's a shame about Obi-Wan. Have a good fourth. Jared.
Okay.
Where do you come down on robot umpires?
My gut reaction is I do not want robot umpires. But here's what I do want. Because I believe, and I've said this to people before, why numbers for Little League and why baseball watching numbers are down is we are a society of instant gratification. And baseball is a game of failure.
Yeah.
Right. If there's anything that you can do 30% of the time and make it into the Hall of Fame, like I dare you to find another profession where you can do that. Now, that's why, and I don't want to get into it, but that's why kids are playing lacrosse now, because it's way easier. I'll say this right now, I don't give a shit who's listening. If you give any athlete 6 months,
yeah,
they can pick up lacrosse and play.
Yeah.
You can't do that with baseball. Baseball is a game of failure. Now, when I say baseball is a game of failure, I mean for the umps too. There is a human element to this game that I think is wildly important. All right. But that said, I fucking hate umpires. I hate them.
So do I. I hate it too.
They should be made to do press conferences after the game.
They should be.
If
And
players and managers have to do it, they have to do it too.
Yeah, and if a player or manager sucks at their job, guess what? They don't have it very long. It's sort of the nature of the beast.
Right.
And I feel like in baseball and in football and in basketball, holy shit, in basketball. Now, basketball is a little bit harder for the robot ump. I understand. Baseball, we see what the strike zone is. Ball strike, robot. I mean,
I think you could do a no home plate umps.
Yeah, you could probably get away with that.
Yeah, just to try it. But then it's a slippery slope and whatever.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
the other thing too is like you said, like how my entire life until very recently, I had to sit through Joe West. I had to suffer Joe West my entire life.
Sure
the
did.
guy who thinks he's like better than the fucking game or he is the show. Like fuck those guys. Like I'm like answer for yourself.
Yeah, the me first umpire is the worst umpire.
Is the worst.
Too many.
Absolutely.
All right. That's how we stand on that. You can email us, be a part of the email of the episode, dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a part of Should I Have Bought This, which is brought to you by 47 Brand, go to 47brand.com and enter the promo code #dork at checkout for 25% off your entire order.
It's time for Davey's video game minute, even if it takes more than a minute.
All right, so what do you have?
Since we already did 47, this portion of the program is brought to you by, once again, absolutely nobody.
Get with it out there.
Get with
folks.
it. Who's listening? Come on.
Come on.
Jesus
Send him a sawbuck, would you?
All right. So since I'm already hot, we did Kevin Smith and we did umpires, right? I'm going to come out of the gate hot. Fuck EA.
Wow.
And I'm going to say that because
that's actually our potential sponsor, so tread lightly.
If they came to us and were like, hey, Electronic Arts really wants to sponsor the video game minute, I'd be like, no.
I won't do it. I refuse.
I won't do it. No. Because if you've seen this thing where they're like, he or she's a 10, but they do something, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, of course.
You've seen that trend, right?
Yes.
So they go, he's a 10, but he only plays single player. Something that EA tweeted out. So not only is that like patently false, that like somehow their multiplayer games are better than any single player game. Look at any game of the year that's come out in the past 5 years. It's a single player game.
Wasn't Battlefront a single player game?
It was. Not only that, right? These assholes have a reputation of buying smaller outfits, firing everybody, and then firing most of their staff and then using the rest of them to make multiplayer games. So they're the ones who are trying to kill these games and push out these products year after year that are, the more it goes on, the more inferior they become.
Brutal.
So which intern just got shit canned for tweeting that out? Because they got absolutely annihilated on Twitter for that.
Yeah, they did.
Like even like full studios were coming out and like retweeting them and being like, no, like you're wrong.
Don't do that.
Yeah, like Corey Balrog and like a bunch of other people. Neil Druckmann from Naughty Dog, and like it's like, don't do that. Like you guys, like
you're shitting on a single player.
Absolutely no sniff. Like and their best games in the past 5 years have been single player games, like like all the Star Wars games, like Fallen Order, like Rogue Squadron. Like those are your best games. It's not FIFA.
They're just trying to have
Madden.
You can't hit on all your jokes, right? I think we've all been there. Maybe
And let's talk about like Battlefront, like that. Jesus, that game was bad.
I hated that.
Speaking of multiplayer experiences that I did enjoy, though, we hemmed and hawed about it in our little group chat, but I did pull the trigger on the Overwatch 2 beta for a PlayStation.
So explain this to me like I'm 5. How is the beta $35, but the game is going to be free?
So what happened? Remember when they had Overwatch first came out, and then they had the Legendary Edition?
Yeah.
Which was like an extra $30 or $40, and you would get skins and you would get all access to whatever early. That's all it is. So like if you wanted to play the beta and get a bunch of like free shit, you could pay. So that's all it is. So I'm playing the beta on PlayStation right now. I got to tell you, it feels like a different game.
Oh,
it really does, because cutting from 6v6 to 5v5.
That's big.
Makes for a tighter experience. So you have 2 healers, 2 DPS, 1 tank.
Hmm.
So you don't have like a team of 3 tanks that'll just like run you over. Or like if
I
you
like that.
certain maps, like if you go heavy, like we talk about it, like, all right, we're gonna go heavy this one.
I like it. Yeah.
So you have to play a little bit differently, and it feels like a little bit of a different game. Plus, I got to play with the Junker Queen.
Yeah. How's that?
It's like
Not for you.
they slap. It's like a Frankenstein of like 4 other characters. So
Got
she's
it.
got like a hammer swing like Reinhardt. She has a shotgun like Reaper. You know what I mean? So it's like she does a charge like Reinhardt. So it's like there's all these things that they're kind of like mashed together.
Got it.
It's Sojourn, the new other new character Sojourn is fucking awesome. But
All
the
right.
old standbys are there. It's a nice little time. I had a nice time.
I bet you did. I
had a
love
nice time.
Overwatch. All right.
There's a new Cuphead update. We finally saw some like pre-alpha footage of Skate 4, which I am excited for.
All right.
Because if we're not going to get Tony Hawk anymore, I do want to play Skate 4. Again, EA, single player.
Whoops.
Right? There probably is some multiplayer component to it, but like no one's going to play
the best part is single player.
Right.
Yeah.
We saw some Robin gameplay from Gotham Knights. Here's the
This
problem.
game's kind of bumming me out.
Here's the thing. I hope there's control over what you do with your character, because I'm not going to make any weird upgrades to fighting at all. You know, I'm not going to have like, you know what I mean? Like the weird jumping, and like I'm going to keep that bare bones. Like I'll up like attributes and stuff.
Yeah, you mess around with some of like your attacks or whatever, or like what you have in your belt and all
like,
that shit.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mess with any of the combat and just see how. Let's hope for the best at this point.
Yeah,
because I'm not. I just like you. It looks great, but I'm not overly impressed with it because it's not Rocksteady, right? And Rocksteady nailed it. And it's Warner Brothers, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, Suicide Squad game's gonna be a lot better.
Yes, and I beat the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. Super fun.
Nice.
Super fun to play. I'm trying to 100% it now. Casey Jones is fun to play. You unlock him when you beat it. So
like it.
It's good shit. I beat it with Splinter.
Ooh. I like it.
Yeah. So that's the Davies video game. I packed a lot in there.
Packed in there. Even with COVID, still able to.
Well, now I'm out of breath. So
still able to pack it up. Pack it in. Let me begin. All right, Ryan, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Y'all ready for bisque? Topic du jour time.
What's that?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day. And today it is Stranger Things Season 4. 9 episodes. It was split up into 2 volumes. They did 7 episodes at the initial release. Then they waited a little while. Then they released the final 2 episodes. Obviously on Netflix, a Netflix original, like all 4 seasons of Stranger Things. We'll begin as we do spoiler-free on our movie and TV reviews. Ryan, did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it enough.
Ooh, enough. I loved it personally.
Sure.
I loved it so much with all of my being. What were your expectations going in? Because I know you and I had discussed this before, how after the 3rd season, we both liked the 3rd season, but also thought the way this show was and how you start with 12-year-old kids and then you're moving them up a little bit. You're like, probably could have ended there. I know there was a cliffhanger, but just the sense of if this was a 3-season show, I thought that probably would have been good. But then I think they kind of outdid themselves in this season. But what were your thoughts going in?
My thoughts going into there, huge, but like the amount of budget that went back into this show was astronomical compared to the other 3. So I wanted to see bigger. And I like with that, I wanted bigger, but I also wanted stakes. Like I wanted something of consequence to happen. Right. And I kind of got both.
Yeah, I would say actually, yes, I would say you absolutely did. What do you think of, first of all these shows are doing this now, the splitting them up, whether it's all released at once or it's weekly, like Better Call Saul and Walking Dead. I don't get that.
I hate it.
Just do your fucking do your season. And whether you're a weekly show or a binge show, I don't care, whatever network you're on. But it's still the same season, but we're gonna give it like 2 months. I don't fucking get that, and I hate that trend.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you care about the super long episodes?
No. Well, the last 2?
Well, in general, they were all over. The shortest episode this season was 1 hour and 4 minutes. most were like a good horror movie length, like an hour 20.
Yeah.
And then obviously the very last episode was 2.5 hours, but just in general, TV shows being this long. I mean, this is commercial free 2.5 hours or an hour and a half.
And for me, so this is the issue I had with it, right? Is there's a lot of fat to be trimmed. There was a lot of stuff throughout this entire season that I felt myself either being bored or being like, let's go, like hurry up, right? There was,
Interesting.
I felt like there was like 11, 12 hours of show here.
Yeah.
Way too much. I would have trimmed that down to like 9 or 10, if I'm being honest.
I think there was probably a couple and we'll get into this in spoilers. There was a couple of sort of storylines within the show that could have been condensed down a little bit.
Holy shit. One in particular. Holy fuck.
You're getting hot about it. It didn't affect my overall enjoyment of the show because I just love the characters and the world that they've created so much.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back on it, it could have been condensed down. Even if it was 9 episodes, like you said, maybe that hour and 16 is just an hour flat, or maybe the hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like that is something that they probably could have done. With a show like this that is obviously has beloved characters that started in season 1, which came out 6 years ago. What did you think of the introduction of some of the new characters this season?
I felt really good about one of them.
Yep.
And the other 2 I'm thinking of right now, useless.
See, I loved one. I liked one. And then the ones that maybe weren't as important or kind of like to bad.
Yeah.
That make, like
there was one new character that I fucking hated that we'll get to in spoilers.
And I wonder with we'll save it. The old characters, I think they did a lot of the good stuff again. Like a lot of that chemistry was there. A couple of them maybe fall off a little bit, but a couple of others kind of improve upon.
Oh God. Yes.
Well, it's not a spoiler. Like Steve and Dustin and Robin are so good in this season. And that was the hope.
Don't sleep on. I will say this right now. If anybody from this show is ever nominated for a major acting award, Sadie Sink.
Oh, 100%.
100%. She is by far the best actor out of those group of kids.
I agree with you completely, actually. And she's one where back in season 2, because the first season was so good, and hell, I love the second season too. We'll get into what we gave all those seasons dork scores because we did standalone episodes for all of them because we've been doing this podcast forever. But I didn't love like when Max and Billy got introduced.
Right.
I was like, I didn't like her as much, and then each season she's gotten a little bit better. I think it also helped seeing her in the Fear Street movie. Yep. I thought she was good in that too. And then coming back in this one, and her character was so important in this season. And you're right, she needed to be. Like she was the one that could really pull it off. Yeah, you're right. It's funny because going back our first episode on the first season of Stranger Things, we talked about how like Millie Bobby Brown will probably be like the walk-away star 10, 15 years later.
And she is. Like she's a
no doubt.
Like
no doubt will be.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the who from this cast will get nominated for an Oscar one day, it's probably Sadie Sink.
And she's so good. You've seen on Twitter, people are calling for her to be Jean Grey in the MCU.
I love it. That'd be a great one.
Great one.
I have no problem with that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The story, I liked the story of this season a lot. Again, there's one kind of filler storyline, not filler storyline, but sort of like a storyline. Yeah. But I guess it's done for a reason, which we'll get into. But overall, like what the characters were doing, the villain, all of that, I really enjoyed it.
I do like that too. I do like the foil, like the what do they call? What did you call it? Something. The mirror
villain.
Yeah, mirror villain. Yeah.
Well, sort of like comedy in this. They're pretty good. On par with Stranger Things.
Yeah, on par with Stranger Things. Very well timed, and there are some fucking funny people in this show for sure.
There's definitely laugh out loud characters. I thought the action, not the action / like, it's funny. You could tell that the budget was huge on this, but I think they used it for the right stuff. They didn't try to. One of the complaints is like after season 1, you know how it didn't look quite as 80s. It didn't have like the Goonies vibe as much. I think this one was able to still do that, but clearly they plugged all their money into CGI stuff they did with the villain and the Upside Down. Also, probably the soundtrack, like the music that they used. They probably had to spend a ton of
And
money.
again, this isn't a
which
spoiler
was
because it's
great.
ubiquitous. It's been everywhere. But like I like to think, and I obviously it didn't go this way, but I like to think that Kate Bush like woke up one day and was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like that's how I like to see it. She's usually like her phone's ringing off the hook, and she's like, "What the fuck? Like what's happening?"
I don't even think her phone would ring. I think it would just blow up. It probably like this thing took off like a goddamn rocket ship. Yeah, just looks over. She's like, it's on fire. She's like, what's going on with my telephone over here? It's like, oh yeah, you're super famous again. Not only dare I say famous again, more famous now than you ever were before.
You ever were. And I read some interview with her, and she was saying how like that was like a throwaway song on the album, and like the record label didn't even want it, and she was like, "I'm doing it anyway," and it didn't do very well. It kind of died. Now it's like the number one song in the world.
And she owns it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's made, I think, she made like $2 million just from this.
Yeah, insane for a song that she wrote almost 40 years ago.
Right.
The 80s nostalgia and all that stuff is ramped right back up. So I thought very, very Stranger Things in that regard. Like what you got hooked you into Stranger Things, I think was still there again. I went back and checked what we scored the other seasons.
Saw that. Yep.
So I went 6, 6, 5, and I would rank them just in that order for me. Like the first season was the best, followed by the second season, followed by the third. You were similar. You went 5.5 for 1, and then back-to-back 5s for 2 and 3.
Yeah.
What is your season 4 score?
See, here's where we're gonna have an issue because I want to say 4.5, but I'm not gonna give it a 4.5.
Wow.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
You can give whatever you want.
No. I'm gonna give it a 5 because I think it's better than 3. No, it's better than 2 was the one with 11 got all like emo, right?
2 well 3 was the mall. 2 was the introduction of 2 was when they showed up. They were doing the Ghostbusters thing, and then
it was like the bitch. She was like bitching, and she went that one episode where she went and found the other ones, which doesn't make sense now. It never made sense, but now it makes less sense now.
Wow.
Right?
I'm surprised.
So I'm gonna give it a 5. All
right. I'll give it a 6. I absolutely loved it. And this recency Keefe would say it's the best season, but I need to watch the first one again. So just to be safe, I'll probably still stick with the OG first season. So I would go 1, 4, 2, 3.
Okay. So I would go 1. I would too. But again, I think what you're saying, the highs of this season were so good.
Yeah.
That it made up for the other shit. But I like in my mind, like I want to give it a 4.5, and I'm gonna give it a 5 because the highs were so good. The last 2 big episodes brought it home.
Awesome.
Yeah,
oh my god, they were awesome, and I was into it, and that's why the episodes didn't even feel as long as they really were, just because I love these goddamn characters so much.
Right.
So I thought, and I don't know, I was just more invested into it. I thought the even some of the stuff. Actually, let's just get to spoilers then, because that's probably rather than just in case people. I'm sure everybody who's already seen all this, it's like the number 1 most watched thing of all time. But so nothing else spoiler free.
Nope.
Great stuff. 6 for me, 5 for Davey. Let's get to spoilers.
Spoilers! Here come the spoilers!
All right. So most of this season, it felt like, was split into 4 groups. Yes. And you had, the California group. So the buyers move out to California. So you have Will and Jonathan out there with 11. Joyce is there to start, and then she obviously takes off, but then Mike comes in to visit. So it's sort of like that group and Argyle, the new character Argyle. Then you have the Russian group. So it's like Hopper and the guy that played Jagan Hagar in Game of Thrones.
I thought he was the many-faced man.
Yeah, that was his name.
Was that Jagan Hagar?
Yeah. The many-faced god or whatever is
okay. I thought, who am I thinking? Who's the guy who they replaced?
Dario Naharis.
Okay, it was Jagan Hagar. You're right.
Yeah, Jagan Hagar. So those 2, and then you eventually like meet up like the Joyce and Murray storyline. That's sort of 1 in my mind. Mm-hmm. Then you had stuff going on at the lab. So once Elle goes back there with fucking Papa, and then Mad About You, Paul Reiser, Owens. And that also includes a lot of the flashbacks to 1, but then that's like sort of a separate thing.
Right.
And then to me, far and away the best shit is anything in Hawkins with Dustin, Steve, Nancy, Robin, Eddie, and Lucas.
Eddie, fucking runaway best character on the show. Not even close. And
Rookie
I
of the
think
year.
that's what frustrated me about this season is that like, we're in spoilers, right?
Oh yeah.
He's the only one who died.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Well, the dude, Jason died, one of the basketball players.
Oh, fuck that guy. Fuck that. Whatever. Like, I don't give a shit about that. Right. But
He died.
I know, but like that was another thing that was like, you saw that coming. Like that was telegraphed the whole way. But like, how he died was like so unceremonious. It was great. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, he's dead.
Papa died.
Oh, that's right. But who cares?
Yeah, Papa death. Big Papa death.
Big Papa death.
Well,
but like,
I'm glad Papa died because I was getting sort of sick. That was one of the storylines that did have a great payoff. It had a tremendous payoff to find out that one ended up getting pushed into the upside down and L turned him into Vecna, essentially.
We had the mirror villain, which is great.
I
think
love
that's
it.
But so like when in season 2, when L goes and finds the others who are in the program, they're all dead.
Well, do we know that to be true?
I mean, you assume because you saw one killing all those. He's killing all the younglings. You saw it happen.
He did kill a ton of younglings,
right? So like they're all dead. So how did she find them later on?
Well, maybe because who did she find? Was it 8? I want to say.
I don't remember, but like I would have to go back and look and see because that was the worst episode of this whole series.
Yeah, that was episode 2. I'm sorry, season 2, episode 7, I believe.
Right. And I presume that all of them are dead.
Well, I guess not.
I guess
not. I guess a couple of them somehow escaped. To me. Or did they end up getting a few more after that? Like, is that possible? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 was sick that day. And
maybe. Wasn't there. Wasn't in the rainbow room that day.
She had COVID, so she was home.
She had COVID. So I was alluding to earlier, dude, fuck Argyle. Like, get that out of here. That was so stupid. Like, that kid was useless.
Well, I know, but he had
the van.
And he had the van.
You could have had Jonathan was a pizza guy, a stoner pizza guy. Like, you didn't need him. What was the point of that?
Yeah, I don't know why you didn't have just Jonathan drive. I guess Jonathan
he made a pizza with pineapple on it. That's like all he did.
Well, he also knew how to get a lot of salt.
Right.
He was able to get a lot of salt.
Fucking A, man.
I thought he had a couple of good lines though when they saw 11 smash that girl at the roller rink and then they were discussing like what the wheel was made out of. I thought he had some mild humor.
But again, I think it was stupid. Like it didn't fit because what Will and Jonathan and Mike were all, it was some heavy stuff. So maybe you needed Argyle in there to like break that up.
I think lighten it a little bit because Jonathan's just a mess at this point. And Will's going through a whole lot. Well, we can even go through a character breakdown if you want.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Do you want to ping pong some best moments, worst moments, or unnecessary moments?
Yes.
So first of all, one of with the stuff, all the homages to movies and shit that we like. So some are subtle, some are not so subtle. Like there's that great, essentially Silence of the Lambs scene where Nancy and Robin go to visit Victor, played by Robert Englund.
Yes. Because
they think he's a madman. They didn't know at the time he was being controlled by Vecna. So the Silence of the Lambs stuff is good. I also love all the hat tips to really the big 3 of horror. So Freddy, Jason, Michael, right? So you have Freddy, obviously is fucking, first of all, the kid that Nancy's hanging out with, his like the little reporter kid or whatever. His name's Freddy.
Right.
Robert Englund obviously is in it. The bad kid who's the basketball player's name is Jason. And then Max has had the Michael Myers mask a few times.
Right.
I also thought the girl that Robin likes looks exactly like Molly Ringwald.
Well, I think that was on purpose. Like she had that like pillbox hat, like not a pillbox, but it was like that same hat.
Had to be
on purpose.
Far away, you're like, holy shit. And then there's also a scene, and there's a million of these, but then there's a scene when Murray says to Hopper, he's like, I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, right.
So like another Star Wars reference, obviously there.
And there was a dash of Evil Dead in there as well.
Oh, of course,
which I appreciated
for
sure.
All right, what do you got for good?
So good. I fucking love Eddie. I love that character. I love bringing the D&D. I love how they always connect things to things that they know. So naming the character Vecna after a real D&D character. That's a real character. So
all of them are, by the way. I think the Mind
yeah.
Flayer, the Demogorgon, all that shit is.
Like you, I love the Hawkins stuff. I love the way. And I was reading an article with the kid who played Eddie, and he was doing like additional dialogue, so he had to go in and like re-record dialogue because you don't have to do that. And they were like, "Do you want to see the death so you can understand like what your character is looking at?" Because when he was doing, you obviously didn't see it, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Holy fuck!" They're never going to let you do that. He's like, not only did they let them do that, they did it like 7 more times.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Yeah.
The first, and then you like it got worse. Like the more you saw, like the limbs breaking and the eyes sucking back, like that was ridiculous. I didn't think they were going to go there. I love the character Vecna.
That was another one where I should have mentioned a non-spoiler. Like the horror element has been there throughout the series, and it's clearly turned up more this season.
Yes,
and it reminds me, it's very similar to where, like in Harry Potter, they stumbled upon a really good young cast, and they use them for all the movies, and it's the same as this. And I think they also think that like their core audience, even though like you and I are the fucking core audience, but I think even if you're a young kid watching this, you're getting older as it's going, so you can kind of turn the heat up on the horror a little bit.
They certainly did.
They did. Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of it's graphic. Like, when they had to show fucking warnings, they're like, first episode, they're like, you may find some of the shit disturbing. I'm like, is that right? I was fucking Leonardo DiCaprio and Django Unchained. I'm like, you had my attention. She's like, yeah, that one.
To me, it was like, I remember thinking like, I've never seen that before in this show. And I certainly hadn't. So the horror element to this was great. Robert Englund being in it was great. Music was awesome.
So what did you think of the choice to have Eddie's solo be Master of Puppets by Metallica?
So what I wanted, he picked up the guitar. By the way, there is a BC Rich Warlock, which is the guitar he plays. Right now, they've only made 200 of them. There is a Hellfire Club special edition beast. If you're a guitar player listening to this, go to Guitar Center right now. There's 200 of them.
Holy
and
smokes.
They have like a Hellfire Club logo on the back of it.
Wow.
Thing's sick. I've never played. It's $900. Should I have bought this?
Out the door. Yeah.
Yes. You should absolutely buy it. But I was thinking, because they kept making references to Iron Maiden. So like he was holding up the tape, he was holding Power Slave. So like I was thinking it was gonna be Number of the Beast, and that would have been awesome.
That would have been.
Fucking Master of Puppets is an awesome. I needed to be heavier, and Master of Puppets is fucking sick. But
yeah, it rips. It fucking rips. And then him and Dustin and him being like, "That's so fucking metal." Like that would have been. I mean,
we obviously connect with those characters. That would have been fucking me being the old guy, the guy who was way too old to be in high school, and you being my young ward, right?
Correct.
So the only issue I have with it is Master of Puppets was released like March 3rd, 1986, and this apparently took place in spring break 1986. So Eddie would have only had like a couple weeks to learn that song.
But he fucking gets it.
And by the way, the actor, other than the solo, really playing it. Like, I know how to play that song. He's really playing it.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
He reminded me that like the lead character in Metal Lords, that kid that
and that's why we love that movie so much.
He could have fit in. Oh, that kid kicks ass. But I looked at, there was a story a while ago about how Winona Ryder would like call out the Duffer Brothers in the first couple seasons, be like, "You want to put that song in? That song wasn't out yet." Like, and they're like, "Oh fuck, whoops." So I was worried about that because that's the first thing I did was because we were kicking around. Me, Mac, and Goo and Rossi did like a "Who's Gonna Die" pre-show thing.
Yes.
And when we were talking about Eddie, we were asking like, what song is he going to be shredding? And we mentioned a couple of Metallica songs, but that wasn't one of them because I think I was looking at like 83, 84, 85. I didn't think they would pick an 86 song, so I didn't even look.
So it was continuity wise, it was released.
It works.
It does work. And he would have heard it because he would have ran and bought that album because that album is fucking incredible.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I also think this season, Nancy has always been a badass. Like even going back to season 1, she's like kind of like a shocking badass. This season, I would say even more so. All the stuff with Nancy and the pump shotgun, I am in here for.
Very Terminator 2.
Oh my God.
Now I have to ask you this question, and this is going to be very bro of me, and this is a bro warning. We need a bro alarm.
All right, bro. Oh yeah, let's see. What do I have for a bro?
Someone needs to make us a bro alarm. So we're like, if I'm going to say something very bro,
Just in my past.
Only a bro's doing that.
she is the most attractive person that I don't ever want to see naked.
That is a bro thing to say.
It is a bro thing to say, but I'm not
All
wrong.
right, dude. Yeah. I'm
too
not going
funny.
to say anything offensive here because I was.
Is that offensive?
No, how old is she?
She's like 26.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd take a peek.
Now.
Yeah, dude. She's 27, by the way. So.
You're like way too old to be playing a high school senior, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Well, no. She's out of high school now.
No, she's still writing for the fucking school paper.
Oh, she's a senior?
Yeah. Because remember, they're applying to college. That was like their whole thing.
Steve's out of high school.
Steve's out of high school. Yeah.
But Steve's out, right? Steve
Steve's out.
graduated. And then Eddie
graduated.
is like the classic, like, should have graduated. Eddie should have graduated a bunch of years ago.
Eddie's like a week shy of 20 when he graduates high school. This year's my year.
This is my year. Henderson, this is my year. All right, that actually jumps me to another question for you. I have double questions. 2 different categories. Favorite couple on the show, like relationship couple, and then favorite on-screen duo. And I have it's multiple choice.
Okay.
Favorite couple, unless I'm missing one, on the show. And you can kind of answer the same way you want. Nancy and Steve, even though right now they're not together, but everybody wants them to be. Nancy and Jonathan are together, seems to be on the rocks. Mike and 11, Lucas and Max, or Joyce and Hopper.
See, I'm leaning towards Mike and 11. And because it was the whole thing that Will was talking about, how like they make each other better.
He's the heart, is what I heard.
And she's the muscle, so I think they make each other better. Like they're no good. And there's that whole, and one of the things I really loved that they're doing this thing with Will, right? And when he's having this monologue with Mike, he's trying to tell him about himself.
Yeah, he is.
Without saying anything. But I love how they did that without having to do that.
I thought that was really well done.
That was very well done.
I don't like Mike and 11 as much as I like Lucas and Max. I think their conversations that they had and the whole thing, like with the tape and like him saving her, and then like their conversations back and forth. And it's clearly like they kind of grew apart a little bit because Lucas got cool. He was on the basketball team and was kind of less doing stuff with them.
Play hair,
but they
got house party hair.
But they clearly still have a thing. Obviously, everybody loves Joyce and Hopper. They have been dubbed Jopper on Twitter. People seem to be really enjoying them. All right, best on-screen duo, and I think I only have a list of 6. So there's even more. The favorites would be Steve and Dustin, also Dustin and Eddie. Then there's Nancy and Robin, Steve and Robin, Joyce and Murray, or your guys, Jonathan and Argyle.
So I think here, there's only one I don't like.
Jonathan and Argyle. But I do, man. Anyone with Dustin is great. Dustin's great. One of the surprises to me was Nancy and Robin. And then like them talking about Steve, like that was really their only relationship was through Steve. So then it was them doing stuff without Steve. And then like Nancy still thinks that like Robin and Steve might like each other. She has no idea about Robin, and they never even like tell her. They just like kind of like whatever, like, and they just keep going. But their dynamic and them getting into the mental institution was a great scene, and like all their stuff. I like them. They're a couple of badasses.
And I like that Robin is clumsy. I like that she is, so her and Steve, I think she's great with Steve because she makes him like, she doesn't buy into any of his bullshit. Because remember the whole thing in season 3, like he thought that she had the hots for him, and she's like, no, I don't.
I for sure don't.
I for sure don't. So they're actually like, I love that relationship. But Jesus, there are times you look at what's her
Nancy?
No. Maya Hawke. Like you look at her, and I cannot understand, and I think I said this the last time we talked season 3, how one person can be equal parts their parents like that.
Yeah,
it's only like her and Jack Quaid are like.
I was gonna say Jack Quaid's the other one where they're, and her voice though is identical to Uma Thurman.
Right. And you look at her sometimes, you're like, holy shit. You look just like your mother. And same like Jack Quaid looks like Randy Quaid and Meg Ryan at the same time. I don't know how, but Fuck.
Perfect. I
Yes.
also love the Stephen Robin just continuing the 80s thing. Last season they were working in the mall. This season they're working at a video store. It's like
I'm
perfect.
telling you, man, record stores and video stores are something that you and I both missed our window on. Like,
Yeah.
what a job in like I would say the early 90s, late 80s to work in like a video store or a record store. Like,
Coolest
that's
thing in
my
the world.
dream job.
Randy Meeks and Scream. That would have been the coolest fucking thing.
High fidelity, like just
Yep.
bullshitting with those guys all day. Like, that was my dream job.
We missed out.
Yep.
We had mentioned how Eddie, a bunch of players on the basketball team, including Jason and Papa, died this season. Max is obviously really banged up.
Yep.
Who should have died? Who do you think it would have made sense for to die? Because we'll get into this. They're making a 5th and final season of Stranger Things. But who should have died in your mind?
Steve.
Damn. That would have carried a lot of weight. So during our pre-show, we thought one of the 3, at least, between Steve. So the love triangle of Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy, one of them should have gone, and then the next season could have been the other 2 kind of reacting to it.
And I think he was the one that, in my mind, would have made the most sense because his whole thing is like he's kind of done, right? Like everyone else is kind of moving on, and he's kind of stuck there, And I think
that one would have. Outside of Dustin. Dustin is if you killed Dustin, I think you'd legit have a revolt. You'd have angry.
No one would watch it
on Netflix, and
nobody would watch the show.
Right. That is a dangerous thing. Steve would be the one that the show could continue on, but it would fucking sting. I think he's the second most popular character on the show now. After that crazy arc he had in season 1, where it's like, yeah, fucking hated him. Then you're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe he's good. He got a shit beat out of him at one point. But then season 2 and 3, and really teaming him up with Dustin and then Robin, has made him my favorite character. Like, I love Steve. I would have been gutted if they killed him, but to your point, like, I would have understood it, and you'd be like, oh shit, nobody's safe on this show.
By the way, can we stop for a second for those of you watching on YouTube and look at my hat and your shirt right now? We are the most patriotic podcast in the world right now.
This is our July 5th episode.
Yeah, I'm wearing a USA hockey hat. You're wearing the women's soccer jersey.
I think it's a men's soccer jersey.
Is that the men's team?
I wish it was the women's.
I would rather win.
They're better. Yeah.
Fucking winners. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the bros.
Sorry, that was a nonsense. I just noticed that. Where were we? Oh yeah. So
if Steve died, I think people would have been pissed, but they would have been like, "Oh shit!" Like, what a moment. Because
it's a way for those other younger characters and even Robin to fill that role because he's like the father. He makes jokes about it, like being their dad, like the babysitter, like he's the father figure of all these. So having those characters now take up that mantle, or even Dustin taking on that role, I think would have been really cool.
I agree. Should we do like a little, like, just talk about sort of what the character stories were for the main characters?
Do we got time?
Does that make sense? What do you want to do? Do you want to get out of here?
No.
There you go.
I never want to leave you.
All right, let's start with Max. Max was, in many ways, the most important character this season for her relationship with Vecna, what happened to her, and all season long. So, like, they saved her from getting all of her bones snapped early, and you saw some of Vecna's other victims, and it was pretty fucking gnarly. They go up in the air, boom, 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 and then they're dead. And they saved her with Kate Bush. She's the big Kate Bush fan. But then at the end of the season, they try to use her as bait. And I guess it kind of works, kind of doesn't. And she gets fucking snapped, but like sort of saved just in time. But she's a mess. She's in the hospital. Not sure she can see. She can't. What do you think happens with her next season?
There is now a deep Vecna connection to her, where he's like a part of her now. Like, so she's going to big heel turn for Max.
Oh boy, villain Max. Yeah, because we know Will has a connection, obviously, and he still has the tinglies on his neck. But yeah, Max is all up in there.
I think the next season is going to be very Will heavy and very Max heavy.
But she had a lot of emotional shit in this one. That's what we were talking about earlier about how good of an actress she is. Like, she was kind of unpacking all that stuff with Billy, and then she had to be like possessed, and she had to do all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty intense. And her her best friend is 11, and she basically had to do the whole season. She was apart from her the whole
Right.
time. Next guy up, Dustin, once again, killing it. Another perfect season for this guy. He's probably been the MVP. If you had to say a 4-season MVP of the show, it's got to be Dustin.
He is your most reliable.
Yep.
You know, he's going to go out there. He's going to get you 15 points, 8 rebounds. You know, he's steady.
Oh, better than that. I think
he's 2010. He's a 2010 guy.
I think he's a 2010 guy because he provides comedy. He moves the plot along. He explains the nerdy stuff to people. He has good chemistry. He makes everybody around him better.
Makes everyone better. And that's the sign of a great player, right? You make everyone around you better. He's the Sidney Crosby.
He is. He's the Steve Nash out there.
Chris Bergeron. He makes everyone around him better.
Yeah. He was awesome. And like, because think about like the stuff that he did with Eddie was so good. In the Hellfire Club, like those guys were great. But then he and Steve just, that chemistry is so good.
And what's great about this character too is like, think of like Eddie and with Steve, right?
Yeah.
In your mind, like even after the fact, you're like, oh wait, if Dustin thought this person was cool, then that person's cool.
Right.
Like he's the one who's like, no, this dude's cool. Like this dude's legit. He brings people in, even his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like he brings her into no, she's cool. And she winds up being helpful and being useful. And
then she came back for this season.
Right.
Yeah. So that was definitely good. Erica,
just sassy she's like a pocket Tiffany Haddish, this one.
She's pretty good. I think they used her just enough. I don't think you want to go overboard with this character. I think you want to use this one just enough, but she was
the only thing I'm laughing, isn't she supposed to be like 10 or 11 too? You're like,
yeah,
she's a little too old to be precocious now.
Probably.
I think
Probably true. Lucas,
he's the I think he's like the rational one. I think he's the one.
He was kind of caught in between worlds because this happens too. Like a lot of times, you know, an 8th grade group goes to 9th grade, and you know either 4 out of 5 play varsity sports, and then the one kind of doesn't, or in some cases, a group of kids like one goes and plays varsity, and the other 4 don't, and then it's just sort of like you automatically kind of have other friends, and then you're trying to play both worlds. It's like, do I play Dungeons and Dragons or do I play basketball? It's like, well, you only have time to do one today. And so you got high school is all about tough choices.
It's all about tough choices.
But I enjoy Lucas, and I thought the Mac stuff, like I said, was really good. Emotional tip. Nancy, badass and a half.
Badass. And what a sleuth. What a sleuth on her, huh?
And a fucking detective. Good point.
Yep.
She knows what she's doing, and probably like she's the Lois Lane of this show.
She's the ace reporter of the show. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Who else we got? Robin. Not a flattering photo here on YouTube, but
not a flattering photo. But again, a little bit of comic relief.
Yeah,
a little bit of levity coming from Robin, but like just enough.
Yeah, I agree with that tenfold. Steve, we've talked a lot about Steve.
Father figure, great head of hair.
Oh my god, look at that hair. That just doesn't quit, does it?
Got the members only jacket on. Kids just killing it.
That scene where they were looking for like portals or openings or whatever, and they're on the lake in the middle of the night, and Steve's like, I got it, and like dives down to the bottom. How the fuck? And then they're like, something's happening. And then Nancy like dives in right after him, and you're like, these kids don't give a shit. They got no fear.
Clothed.
And
you ever tried swimming in clothes?
It sucks. Yeah, well, it weighs you down. Just sinks you to the bottom of the ocean. Although if you're trying to get to the bottom, I guess that's probably more helpful.
Yeah, it's probably good for you, right?
That's probably what you're trying to do. Eddie.
Fucking man.
Eddie,
like this is the guy like I would be. Eddie's the guy in high school who you're friends with, but like not at school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would go hang out at Eddie's house after school, but like during school, like I wouldn't talk to him.
There was a kid. There was a kid at St. Paul's, believe it or not, that I don't even remember his name, but he kind of reminds me of Eddie because he was definitely out on his own, and he probably, like us, didn't really fit in to school at St. Paul's. Mm-hmm. But I remember Billy being like, no, this guy's got good taste in music. And there was like, remember we talked about this on the podcast one time. There was like a share. There was like an
X Drive. It was the X Drive. It was a community drive that you could share stuff to.
And he would drop shit in there, and it was all like 90s metal. And he was the only other kid in the whole school that listened to this shit. And so we would just go and I forget the fucking kid's name.
No, but I remember you telling me about it, and then like I was one of the first people in our house who had a CD burner, so I would just start ripping CDs.
I'm like, rip this. Like, it was just whatever his name was, somebody's music, and then you click on the folder, and it was just all songs that would rip your face off. And I'm like, this guy gets it. So he was our Eddie.
Yeah.
What do you think of the season that Mike had? He's another one where I think he was really the main character in season 1. Like, everything kind of went through him. Like, he in 11, but it kind of was through his eyes in a way. And I feel like now he's one of my least favorite characters. And I don't know if that's just more him or if it's more I just like all the other characters more. But where do you stand on Mike?
I think so. What gets me about this character is that everyone else has kind of done other things and he's still doing the same thing. You know, and I'm kind of wanting him to take, because he doesn't really like, you look at Steve, you look at Eddie, like these, even Dustin, people who are getting involved in this bullshit. He seems to be like, because Will talks about him being like the heart and being our leader and being out in front, but you never really see him doing that.
Yeah, and I also think it was bullshit, like how mad he got at 11 for beating up that girl who was so fucking mean to her. Like the girl at the roller rink in like the early on, it feels like forever ago because it was like 10 hours ago.
Yeah.
But early on in the season, when 11 was at school and all those girls were like ridiculous, mean girl, over the top, just nasty to her. And then she finally responds, and like Mike at first was just like disgusted by her. I'm like, dude.
No, but the other thing too is like they were videoing the whole thing. Like, wouldn't you, if the cop showed up and that's your girlfriend and she was being like bullied by these people, be like, they fucking watch the video.
Yeah, they bullied the piss out.
They videoed the whole thing. Like, watch this. This has been going on. You know what I mean? And like,
that was awesome. She fucking cracked her with the.
I started dying laughing when she was in like the school courtyard and the girl was pissing her off and she tried to do like the hand thing and just screamed and nothing happened. It reminded me of the horse girl who hissed at people in the hallway. Everyone had the horse girl. You know what I mean? The girl who was like kind of way too into horses.
Yeah.
Right. Had drew horses and like and you would walk by like, hey, and her name was always something like, I don't know. Amanda. And you're like, hey, Amanda. She's like hissing you and like, you know.
All right. Well, that's okay.
It was a lot of horse girl vibes.
Yeah.
Useless.
Not a whole lot of next one on our slide here on YouTube. Karen.
Useless.
Mrs. Wheeler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of here. You perm.
On there.
By the way, if you're in Hawkins, why are you still there?
Yeah, it's been too many times.
All this shit has been going on for like 3 years. Like, I'm the fuck out of there.
Right. Well, that's where the buyers moved. The buyers were smart.
Well,
now, obviously,
move.
Yeah, Will very much needed to move, but everybody else
get out.
Yeah, they're Argyle. We were talking about
Argyle. Fuck Argyle.
Yeah, Jonathan, I thought was gonna die, and it's funny because he in real life is going out with Nancy, and yet nobody who watches the show wants those two to be together. Everybody wants Nancy and Steve to be together.
And God love him. But again, I love that moment with him and his brother. You know, talking in the pizza shop. I thought that was a really cool moment for the two of them. And
get a haircut, buyers.
Seriously, both of you.
Come on.
Yeah,
I would say Will has probably turned into the worst actor. Like they were all good as 12-year-olds and like especially for 12-year-olds, but even on that scale, like compared to like Harry Potter, you're like, all right, these kids are all very believable. I like them all. He had the least to do. He was kind of trapped in the upside down and just had he was puking up slugs and stuff at the end.
Him and Barb. Yep.
R.I.P. Barb. I was waiting for a character to have a B name to like Eddie should have been named like Barry, because think about it. They killed Barb, Bob, and Billy on the show.
Yep.
I was like, and Eddie doesn't really fit.
Could have been Barry. Eddie could have been Barry.
Barry,
I'm guessing they named him Eddie for that Eddie Iron Maiden.
Yeah. He's also Eddie Munson, not Eddie Munster, but he was Eddie Munson was the character.
He did get Munsoned this season.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Will, I thought there was a chance either he was going to die. I also thought there was a chance that maybe he would have some sort of power would show through or he would turn evil. Or none of that happened, but he did get the tinglies at the end of the season. And I would imagine he ends up being a bigger part in season 5.
Real sad. Yeah, he will be next season. He will be season 5's comeback player of the year.
Oh, you think you're calling that now?
Yep. They got to get rid of that penis haircut, though. They really do. He looks like a penis.
Didn't help him. Didn't help him.
Pumpkin pie haircutted freak.
Yeah, not a sweet do. But yeah, I thought there was gonna be something there because then there's sort of that triangle now with 11, him and Mike, and it's as of this point not going his way. Hopper, you know what? Always love Hopper, but similar to Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec, I think I like a bigger Hopper. I think cut Hopper. I don't know, not as good.
Here's the issue. Here's one of the other. When I talked about trimming the fat too, we didn't even talk about this. They fucking landfilled the whole prison thing. That pissed me off. You know what I mean by landfilling it? Like, can you call me landfill too? Like they spent 8 hours trying to get this guy out of prison just to go back into prison.
They had to go back. Well, they had to.
But
that's where the stuff. It's a hive mind. It's a fucking hive mind.
I understand, but like from a story standpoint, that's fucking stupid.
You also knew they weren't going to
wasted time.
There's no way they were going to kill Hopper after the lengths they went to keep him alive after season 3 and all that stuff.
Oh,
this part probably went on the longest with like really the least amount of payoff. I was actually surprised that the scene where him and Joyce first saw each other wasn't like a bigger deal. Like, because they built up this whole thing, like the connection they have and like them trying to get back together. And then it wasn't like a crazy like thing. And the same thing to be said when Hopper finally got home and saw 11 for the first time in God knows how long. It wasn't like a huge crazy reunion with like, I don't know, like music and shit. I
did like how she said, I kept the door open 3 inches. Like you said, I did like that. But again, I feel like this, when I talk about, there's a lot of fat that could have been trimmed. A lot of it was in this Russia thing. Like a lot of it was this, because you spent a lot of time, I feel like, spinning your wheels, like organizing this breakout. Like, how are we going to break this guy out to have him be double crossed and then stalled and then possibly double crossed again? And then like, oh, we just should have stayed in prison. Like, to me, that's lazy. Like that's you're just killing time at that point.
Yeah, and I didn't like the pilot either. Like the guy, like the double cross, triple cross, quadruple cross. Like it was kind of too much. I'm like, he went for too many laughs. Wasn't great. One thing I did love was when they were changing clothes over there in Russia, and Joyce put on a Hulk Hogan World Heavyweight Champion shirt.
Sure did.
I like that very much.
Where did you buy those shirts? Sorry.
Do you think Winona Ryder, by the way, is like looking at this Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff and it's just like, thank Christ I got out of that?
She strikes me as one of those people who doesn't own a television.
Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Maybe.
She's like, have you been following this? She's like, no, I don't even have a TV in my house.
She might have read about it in the paper then.
Maybe. But do you notice too that
may not know this? This is common knowledge for people our age, but some people may not know this. That Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp went out for a while back in the day, and he got Winona Forever tattooed on his arm. And then when they broke up, he got rid of the last 2 letters, and so it just said Wino Forever, and that got brought up in the trial because Amber Heard, I guess, I don't know who's right or who's the fuck what, but I guess one of the arguments they got into was because she was asking him and then laughing about his tattoo, and it was that one.
Well,
like what a world we live in. What
a world we live in. Not only that, did you notice that Winona Ryder's voice now, she sounds like the old lady she plays in Edward Scissorhands? Like that's her voice now. Yeah.
A little bit. 11, obviously this is a show really about 11. I mean, you can't go too far without the show. But again, we hit on it earlier. I love the fact that even though it took a little while, the flashback led to a monster payoff. And so again, this is how I interpret it. Rod, the upside down existed, but there wasn't like a big bad in there until 11 pushed him through. Because a lot of people that are like chasing after 11 thinks that she's the one that like created the world and like these monsters.
Right.
But really she's just like created the portal for it. But in this case, she did create Vecna because he was number 1.
Right. So there's a big bad and she's the big good. Right.
She's the big good in this
Don't
case.
You think at some point too, like she was doing her like teenaged angsty thing with Papa and stuff like that. And he kept telling her like, she can't leave. She can't leave. She can't leave.
Yeah.
You or I being faced with that decision at some point, I would have looked Matthew Modine in his face and be like, how about I just rip you the fuck in half?
Yeah. I need to go. My friends are
leaving now.
Yep. Here's actually what's going to happen.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to move or I'm going to rip you in half. with my mind, with mind bullets.
What'd you think of Murray?
I've had enough of Murray.
I thought he could have died. I'm actually shocked that he didn't die. I thought he served his purpose. I thought he provided some comedy in this season.
He's
but
basically just a translator at this point.
I was ready for him to die.
You know, so why I have a soft spot and I forget the actor's name who plays him.
Brett
and
Gelman.
Brett Gelman.
Yeah.
In The Other Guys, a movie we've referenced countless times. My favorite line in that whole movie is he goes, "I bet you think because I have this beard that I'm really hairy." Shaved. Like, the Christina. Yeah. That he was funny and to a point. Now I'm like, I'm over it. Like, you're just basically there to translate Russian. That's all you do.
Yeah. He was also in Fleabag, where he plays a fucking asshole.
I loved last season him and the other Russian guy.
Yeah, that was some good stuff.
That was some good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
They became like buddies.
That was the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this, by the way, they went 8 up. So by season, they went 8 episodes, 9 episodes, 8 episodes, 9 episodes. Some of the early reports on season 5 is it's going to be not as long as this season, and I think they might mean in both length of episode and episodes.
So I read something right before I jumped on. The Duffer Brothers said they're calling for 8 episodes, 10 hours.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because they said, well, I think once again the finale is going to be like 2+, 2.5.
So they said they need either 8 episodes or 10 hours or both or some combination of the two.
The other word on the streets, this would be twitter.com. Or
when we refer to the street, we're talking about Twitter, by the way, if you haven't picked up on that yet.
App, it's a free app you can get. We're on there at Dork Podcast if you want to follow us. It sounds like after the first 2 episodes, there's going to be a time jump. How do you feel about early 90s Stranger Things?
90s are in right now. I don't know if you've noticed. Like,
I love the
style
90s.
And
yeah,
90s are back. We got like boot cut jeans and like fucking fluorescents are like they're all over the place now.
I love fluorescents.
You know what I love? That 90s trend that's back that I'm fucking all on board with, and I've missed it, and I'm glad it's back. Baggy clothes. I love it.
Christ, the baggier the better.
God. Yeah.
Fuck the short shit out.
Yeah.
Get it out of my face. Not
Seriously.
good. So I'm okay with the 90s. I prefer the 90s. I spent more time in the 90s than I did the 80s. And I think early 90s, there's a sweet spot there. Because I think part of what makes the show so great is just the 80s feel. So I don't think you want to go too far afield. But if they start this season in like 86, they continue in 86 or like pick up where they left off, and then do a 5-year jump, and now you're just landed in 91.
91, 92. I love it.
And now, but the problem is, like, are you going to be able to get those kids to look like they are now? What if they're freshmen? And then I guess they'd still be in college, right? 5 years. Yeah.
Would they be in college?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, right, I think they're like, they're all like 18.
No. Oh, well, in real life, but I mean, like on the show, they are what, 14 years old?
Yeah. So, so I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Gaten Matarazzo, who plays Dustin, is 19.
Yeah. Okay.
Sadie Sink is 20.
Yeah, so they could all do it.
You could do it.
Yeah.
I think the Will is Noah Schnapp is the youngest. He's 17.
Yeah, he's a young gun. So they're all the other thing the Duffer Brothers said is I guess it's all going to be in Hawkins, which is a good thing. The whole season is going to take place in Hawkins. But I wonder what that means for the buyers. There's no way she can move back unless Hopper's like, hey, live with me. But she'd be like, we can't live in Hawkins with Will. We can't do it.
Right.
And then I wonder what the deal is with Max. Like when
maybe they're all in college, and maybe she's like, it'd be sick if she was not sick, the character, not the actor. If she was in like a home.
Max?
Yeah. Like if she was like almost like catatonic, and they would like visit her.
Well, the other part of this is the people of Hawkins, the vast majority of the people of Hawkins just think it's an earthquake. They think it's the biggest earthquake ever. Not everybody in Hawkins knows about all this shit that's going on.
Right. Okay. So wouldn't it be cool if you had Max in like an asylum, right? Or like a ward of the state,
Yeah.
And like everybody there thought she was just like in a chair, like just staring like blankly the whole time. But Elle could talk to her.
Oh, get in her mind.
Yeah.
That was a good scene. That was a good scene, by the
She
way.
could piggyback. And
Piggyback.
she could go in and talk to her and tell everybody like how she's doing and
Yeah.
all that
What do
stuff.
you think's going on right now with Vecna, aka One, aka Henry?
Regroup. We're rebuilding, regrouping right now, reloading.
Is it to your is it of your opinion, or I guess is it stated fact? I'm not sure. Did Vecna create the Mind Flayer and the Demogorgon and the Demodogs, or were they?
So,
What do you?
Was
What
that
do you?
unclear to you too?
I'm not
100%
100%.
because he mentions it and he said I wanted to become the thing. I mean, a predator, and he likes spiders, so that's why the Mind Flayer looked like a spider.
My impression of it is and maybe some of you probably are like, what are you, an idiot? Yeah, it's very clear, but like the stuff that was in Russia that was just like forming around, that's what was in the Upside Down. And so when he got pushed through, he was like, I'm gonna kind of take over. And then and as they said 1,000 times, it's a hive mind. He ended up kind of like creating these other things. And so for the first several seasons, it was these other creations of his.
Right.
And then it became him. So
It seems that way, and it seems that he found a way to control that. What they called it, like the dust, or they called it like whatever. And the Russians somehow got a small piece of it, and were trying to control that, and that's how they got their Demogorgon and Demodogs and all that stuff. But so much was happening at that time that it felt like a little rushed. That explanation.
Yeah, but that was sort of like my sense in all this, and also like, I could see all those other characters or whatever creatures just sort of being like doing what they're told or doing what they were like set out to do.
But someone's right. They were there when he got there, but he's controlling them now.
Okay. Yeah. And like, was the Mind Flayer there though?
I think it was that cloud, and he controlled it and turned it into that.
Yeah. So there's definitely something with that. Also, apparently, some sleuths did this. The first 3 seasons, I guess there were times when that like clock chime, you could hear it, and like that's sort of like a signal of like his. You could go back and like somebody like matched up the times where that happened. Pretty sick. Yeah, like, you know, I always give them that. Like, I like when shit's well thought out, or when there's callbacks or stuff isn't by mistake. Continuity, Ryan. It's a very important thing. Not enough shows have it. I would also say, and I'm obviously higher on the show than you are.
I mean, I'm not low on that. You make it like I'm a point lower than you.
I'm not saying you're low on it. I'm just saying I'm fucking high on it. I'm high. I'm high on life, and I'm also high on the
Life
show.
Garden, dig it. Yeah.
I've been like doing like a soft top 50 TV show list. I've just been sort of like slowly constructing in case, you know, a rainy day you ever need it. This show to me is flying up there because this is now 4 good seasons of television, and I have shows like The Leftovers was only 3 seasons, and I love it. And like, what?
And you love The Wire, which was 2 bad seasons by your own admission. Whole season.
I've never said that. It's 5 seasons total. I didn't say season 2 and 5 were bad. They're just
no. You said there were 2 bad seasons.
I've never said that. Fine tape. Bad seasons? I would never say that about The Wire.
I think you said like season 4 is bad, or season 5.
Now I know you're lying. 4 might be the best. So I know.
Whatever. I don't know because I've never seen the show. But you're like, yeah, you can skip 2, and like season 5 is bad. I
wouldn't
promise
call
that's my recollection
seasons
of it.
No. I definitely say the last season's the worst, but they have a very good finale. The season's the weakest, but it's also the high bar they set with the first 4. I wouldn't say they had bad seasons, but this show has no bad seasons in my mind.
No bad seasons, no.
Has to be like a top, just by that alone, has to be like a top 20 show of all time.
It's in there. So I would say 25, top half for me.
Like Game of Thrones is an unbelievable show, had a legit bad season.
Crashed and burned. Dexter is a show that fucking crashed and burned.
Right.
So
it's tough to have all
first 3 seasons of Dexter are fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then shit hits the fan.
The Stranger Things is in a pretty good spot. But yeah, I'll be excited to see also. And then as we get closer, I mean, Stranger Things season 5 probably won't be out until like 2024 would be my guess.
Yeah.
Because they're writing it now. They'll probably film it next year and then it'll be out in 24.
So yeah, I mean, these kids are going to be in their early 20s.
Yeah, so they'll easily be able to do the time jump. And then it'll be fun to guess the music that they have for that show.
Oh, I can't wait to hear some like happy rap, some fucking bell bit to some New Jack Swing.
Oh,
Can't wait. I love it.
For sure. It'll be great. All right. Anything else you want to say about Stranger Things season 4?
It's good. It's a little let's get this show on the fucking road at times, but the highs are so good that you should watch it.
Yeah, and I just think there's something about some of the characters that anything that Dustin and Steve, Eddie, pick of the pod, Robin, Nancy, like anytime they're on the screen, I'm just like, yeah, let's just keep doing this. I could watch that all day long. All right, sweet. Let us know what you guys thought. You can tweet us or email us at Dork Podcast on Twitter, dorkpodcast@gmail.com. What did you think of this season, and how would you rank the seasons? If you love the show, great, but where would you put it amongst the other ones? All right, let's get to this.
Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the bomb. Pick of the bomb.
Pick of the pod.
All right, Ryan, whether to kick, receive, defer, or you may choose at this time to defend a goal.
I will receive. And first, I want to address a comment in the chat. If Thomas LeMay said, what season 4 of Dexter was the best season? If that's the season with the Trinity Killer with John Lithgow, you're absolutely right. Everything after that. I thought it was 3. Apparently it's 4. So we're definitely talking about the same one. The one with the Trinity
He's
Killer.
got COVID, Thomas. Cut him some slack.
I told you, a little foggy, but the one with the Trinity Killer is the best season. The show should have stopped there because it ended perfectly. Anyway, I have 3, by the way, picks of the pod.
Well, let me sit down then.
Movie, I have a television show.
Wow.
And I have a music pick.
Got it. Yep.
Movie. I finally saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That might not be the best movie I see this year, but it is definitely one of my favorites.
The Nick Cage?
Oh my God. You haven't seen it yet?
No.
It's great. It is like so self-aware and like self-deprecating for like Nicolas Cage, and like he has these things where he talks to like his younger self, and they're like the best part of the movie. It's awesome. So funny.
All right.
Pedro Pascal is great. So if you haven't seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, please see that movie. It's phenomenal. I finished The Bear. Remember that show on FX?
I have I'm going to watch the finale after this. I've watched 7 of the 8 episodes.
The finale is incredible. Incredible. I can't wait for you to watch it. It's
the penultimate episode was insane.
The one shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was insanity. Yeah.
Yeah. All one shot too. Yeah, it's incredible. If you haven't seen The Bear on FX, watch that. And my music pick, this came out last Friday, I think. Usher did a Tiny Desk concert on NPR. Stripped down music like a real band. Unreal. I've watched it like 6 times. Yeah, it's so good. Just him singing with like a little band. So good. He's such a good singer. I mean, you lose it with the pop stuff and like the Lil Jon shit. He's fucking really good.
Have you seen the meme that's been going, or the GIF that's going around of him doing like this shit?
Yeah, because it's from that concert.
It had to be, right? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's wearing that like weird collar thing, but the concert itself is
it really good?
Yeah.
I saw The Black Phone.
Oh.
I saw The Black Phone. I would give it a 5 out of 6.
Okay.
Shockingly, not as scary as the trailer makes it out to be.
It's a horrifying premise.
It's so scary. Well, and that part is scary, but I thought it was going to be. It's definitely creepy. And Ethan Hawke is good. All the masks are good. There's a couple of kid actors in it who do a good job. It's a Joe Hill book or short story. Stephen King's son wrote the story.
I'm going to read it.
And then Scott Derrickson directed it. It's pretty great. The premise isn't the same, but I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. You know how like Green Room and like Don't Breathe have like a feel to them almost?
Yeah.
I would say The Black Phone fits in that wheelhouse, and even Sinister, which obviously Derrickson directed. So I highly recommend that, especially for horror fans. All right, next week, Ryan, we might have to do the first ever Dork doubleheader if you're up for it.
Yeah, because we have The Boys and Thor.
Yeah. And just for the sake of was it prosperity? For people to prosperity.
Yeah.
Posterity. For people to look back one day and go through our archive rather than jamming them into one episode. What we might do, if you the people are up for it, we can flip a coin, right? And start with one of them. Start at 8:45 next Monday and do like 45 minutes and then say goodbye. Boom. Then you got to jump into another link and then boom, we pick it up right from there for another 45 minutes on yet another topic du jour.
So if you watch it on YouTube, you get a true double header. If you listen to it, we're going to split it up, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, no, it's gonna be two different links though on YouTube. Right. So it's gonna be the same night on YouTube, but two different YouTube videos.
Yeah, we'll rip a piss break and then come back to the other one.
I'll go rip a dart outside and I'll jump back in. And then then maybe I'll release them like a day apart or something on the podcast.
And we can just do This Week in Dork Video Game Minute once.
Yep.
And then just hit the du jour on the next one. Love it.
Yep. And then that's what we'll do. We'll do like This Week in Dork, Thor, then end it, and then we'll do The Boys and Pick of the Pod.
Yep.
End it. Big up Buengo. So that's next week.
It's too easy.
Hashtag Dork doubleheader. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dork Podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, especially next week. Holy smokes, 2 videos in one fucking night. What are you fucking crazy?
Wow.
YouTube.com/Dork Podcast. Thanks for listening tonight. Let us know what you think about Stranger Things. And Rod, you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
What'd you say?
So you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
Not really.